Hi, I'm former WWF WCW head writer Ed Ferrara, and I'm headed to Monday Night Carlo, the pop culture podcast, available on iTunes, Stitcher, and now YouTube. Want to hear all about my involvement with the WWE's Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars? Then keep listening to Monday Night Carlo.
You are tuned in to the Monday Night Carlo, sports and entertainment sportscast. And now, without further ado, I give to you the one and only Carlo.
Hello everybody, this is Carlo, your host for Monday Night Carlo, the fun pop culture podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and now YouTube. And we have got not one but two interviews this week, the first of which being with Josh Gagnon, the blog writer for CageSideSeats.com, as well as Rich of TheAudioSprite, telling us all about his charity album. It's going to be a great podcast. There's much more to come from the podcast as well. Many more guests down the line. But for this show, let's get it rolling with Josh Gagnon of CageSideSeats.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Carlo. It's going to be a fun time tonight because that's always a fun time when we talk wrestling, right? Tonight, we have the blog page writer for the CageSideSeats.com, Mr. Josh Gagnon. Josh, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. It's going to be a fun time tonight, man. I can feel it. Can you feel it too? I
can feel it. I have it running through my veins right now. This is my debut, so I'm hoping it's going to be more like Jericho and less like Shockmaster.
No, I think we've already passed that curtain. So let's hear about you and kind of first hear about how you became a wrestling fan.
I mean, geez, it's been a long time now, probably WCW Saturday Night.
Yeah.
1991 or so, probably Sting and Vader. As a little kid,
yeah,
that kind of catches your eye as you flip through the TV channels. So,
yes.
I think that was probably what kind of caught my attention. And then just going to the video store, they had an amazing collection of all the old pay-per-views. So I would just go and rent those, and, I just kind of got hooked that way.
So it was WCW first for you then, yeah?
It started out, yeah, that probably got me going. And then there was the WWE Saturday morning.
Yes.
You kind of tune into that, and then Raw eventually made its way on. So I'd always have to fight my parents to be able to stay up and watch that on a school night.
What was your first kind of favorite wrestler?
Geez, I don't even know now. Probably Vader. He just caught my eye with the helmet and the smoking thing that he put out in front of him.
Yes.
That always kind of got me. I liked. Macho Man too. When Raw started up, I was like Macho Man and Doink. I like the evil clown.
Yes, I think I definitely prefer the evil Doink to the good Doink.
Oh yeah, when he went good, everything just went to hell there.
So tell us about your blog, man. Tell us about Cage Side Seats.
Well, I am just a writer on Cage Side Seats. It actually is run by a guy named Gino. He does an excellent job running the site.
Right.
And he has just a great team that, we all just kind of chip in and help him out, kind of help round out the site. I've been there for about a year. I started in December of 2013.
Okay.
Yep. What
was your first blog?
The first series that I started out with, it's basically a evaluation series. That's kind of what I'm known for. I kind of got the idea from my wife. She was getting evaluated at work, and I thought, well, that'd be cool. Why don't we evaluate a wrestler?
Right.
So every day I pick someone, and I would let the community talk about them. So they, I'd ask them to say, one thing that they love and one thing that they, loathe about the person. And they would end up, saying what they like and they don't like, and I'd read through the comments and I'd find trends. So then I would post up a second article basically saying, what is the person doing well and what are they doing poorly. So we've done about just over 300 of them.
Nice. I'm guessing you had a lot to say about the Royal Rumble, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
What was your opinion on the Royal Rumble match itself?
The match itself, it was booked terribly.
Yeah.
I was okay with Roman winning. It's just kind of one of those things where you just kind of know what's going to happen.
Yes, yeah.
But the way that they did it with, just, the main thing was Daniel Bryan being tossed out unceremoniously.
Yeah.
That the way they just kind of threw him to the side was, really brought it down. And just, with Kane and Big Show in the end, those kind of things, it's just, no one gives a crap about those guys, and we don't want to see them in the end.
I think the thing that aggravated me more than anything, Josh, was just the way they went about it. Exactly like you said, man. I think I had no problem. Well, like I've stated before, man, I have absolutely no problem with Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, but the way they went about it was unbelievable. Like the way even Dolph Ziggler and stuff getting thrown over the top rope like they did, as almost as if the WWE doesn't care,
Yep. I mean, you would think that being in Philly, they would adjust.
Yes.
You have to adjust to the live crowd just a little bit. They did that. They brought out Bubba, which got everyone excited. But,
yeah.
At the end, they just started dumping guys left and right, and it just was like, well, that's it. That's how we're going to end this. And I didn't really like it.
Do you think that? I mean, if you were Vince McMahon, would you kind of bend the company to the will of the fans, or would you stick to your guns? How would you approach it?
I mean, Vince has been around for a long time, and the WWE is still kicking. So I think he knows what he's doing for the most part. It's kind of hard to argue with someone who's turned a company around. He's gone from territory wrestling to a worldwide known company.
Yes.
So I think you have to find a balance, and I don't think you can be hard-headed about it. He seems to be more hard-headed about it. He's in a kind of a bubble.
Yes.
I feel like there's people around him that have to tell him from time to time, hey, Vince, people really like Daniel Bryan. Maybe we should bring him in. Hey, Dolph Ziggler's kind of getting over. Maybe we should throw him a bone.
I think the thing is as well that now the WWE have kind of changed it up and put Daniel Bryan back in the picture. I think a lot of hardcore fans are kind of annoyed at that even.
Well, some fans you just can't even please. That's why I don't think you can always go with what the fans want. They're very fickle.
Exactly.
And sometimes they just, they will turn on a dime. So sometimes you just have to, just pick a plan and just stick with it. I
mean, this is an interesting topic for conversation because I was talking on another podcast called Pro Wrestling Nation at the weekend, and we were talking about the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast with Triple H and Vince McMahon. Mm-hmm. And we were basically saying whether it helps or hinders wrestling, because not the fact that they've blown kind of wrestling wide open, but the thing is the way they've done it. I mean, what I mean is, I'm going to elaborate on that. What I mean is that on a normal podcast that you or I'll listen to on an iTunes or a Stitcher, that is your choice, right? To listen in to that is your choice. But to put the podcast on so boldly as to put it straight after Raw and advertise it on the network and make it live video, I mean, that's going to bring a whole lot of other spectrum and younger fans to watch that. So obviously that's going to be a lot more watched and listened to than a regular podcast.
Right.
Do you think that in itself, that helps wrestling to have Steve Austin ask the hard questions?
I mean, it's almost like Steve Austin is the fans or something,
Yes.
He's kind of the middle person here.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I think sometimes they try to push this, reality era. So, is this a part of it where they can kind of get out some of their statements through these podcasts?
Yeah.
I mean, I personally like them.
Right.
I think that, I think as long as Stone Cold sticks to asking tough questions and he doesn't start to turn into, softballing questions.
Yeah.
I think that it is cool and it's different. It has a different feel to it, when he interviews Vince McMahon,
I think the thing with Steve is he's so likable as a person as well, and there's not much difference between Stone Cold and Steve Austin,
Yeah.
So, on the podcast front, what kind of other podcasts do you listen to? Do you listen to many wrestler podcasts as well?
You know what? I really don't. I like to support them on through Twitter and whatnot, and I haven't really listened to too many. I just I guess probably the one I do like is the Bros Before Elbows podcast.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one. No.
I enjoy. They're two brothers that do it, and I enjoy it because they have a good chemistry. They keep it fun and light, and I enjoy that. A lot of humor. So I guess that is one that I do listen to, and I listen to the couple that are on Cage Side Seats too. They tend to do a live podcast right after a Raw or a big pay-per-view.
So I mean, we need to talk Fastlane, and what do you think is your opinion on what's going to happen in that main event between Bryan and Reigns?
I mean, they could go a lot of ways with that. I mean, they could just, they could do kind of a dusty finish and have, both guys make it to the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, I think that they're probably just going to stick with Roman Reigns winning it. And
yeah, I do too.
he just seems like whether he wins at WrestleMania and all that, I'm not sure, but it seems like that's just where he's going.
Do you see any other outcome apart from him kind of winning the belt at Mania?
I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to come out with it. I mean, because you always have Seth Rollins in the background, with his Money in the Bank briefcase. He only has so much time before he can cash that in, so that's coming up.
I'd be interested to hear your take on Seth. What do you think of Seth as a wrestler?
I mean, Seth is, he's the top heel in the company right now. He's absolute dynamite in the ring.
Yes.
I mean, anyone who doesn't like him in the ring, I would question them. I mean, there's nothing that he does wrong really. And he's turned himself into such a just hateful heel, which WWE tends to turn away from. They don't necessarily want heels that people are going to boo out of the building.
Yes.
I feel like they try to do a lot of tweener work. You see with like the Wyatt family, they would do kind of some tweener type stuff with them, where Seth is just an all in all bad guy heel, runs away, just a guy you just want to hate, but he's so damn good in the ring that, I wouldn't mind seeing him come out with the title. WrestleMania.
Do you think the cash in is like impending or?
Well, I mean, the problem is, I don't know if we get to WrestleMania and he hasn't cashed it in. So then, I mean, what's the angle? We're just waiting for him to cash in, that night. We know he's going to do it. And we're just waiting for someone to get beat down so bad that he is going to run in there. I would hope that maybe they would try to do something on a Raw beforehand.
So if you had the choice of your own outcome for the main event at WrestleMania, what would your outcome be?
I would like the idea of it being Seth Rollins versus Roman.
Right.
Just because I feel like there's history between the two. Obviously, you have the traitor Seth Rollins hitting him in the back with the chair. And, so there's already a built-in history. I think the two could probably put on a really great match. Not that Brock Lesnar can't, but I personally like seeing two full-time active wrestlers main event WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I have kind of a thing against part-timers doing that.
Definitely.
So.
What do you feel about Brock Lesnar, though?
I mean, I like Brock. I think I feel like he should give the rub to a young guy. It kind of will make sense.
Yes.
He's been this dominant guy since he beat Undertaker. He blew through John Cena multiple times. So now we get to WrestleMania, and it feels like whether he stays or goes, he should, give the rub to either a Rollins or even Reigns.
How did you feel at WrestleMania 30 when he pinned the Undertaker?
At first, I didn't like it. Your initial reaction is, this is crap. But with hindsight now, I think it's been good because he hasn't lost. He's destroyed Cena, who is the number one guy and all that. He's Super Cena. So as long as he's been made to look really strong all the way until the next WrestleMania. So I think that I like that story, in totality. I
love the unstoppable monster angle, and I think it's only going to grow up until WrestleMania now.
Yeah.
What do you think to the Raw where we saw the snowfall and we were kind of introduced to Titan Towers and we had the interviews inside Titan Towers? How did you feel about that?
It was a different kind of Raw. It was pretty funny seeing JBL up on the roof giving a weather report and all that, and Dean Ambrose walking.
Yes.
He walked to headquarters, which was pretty funny.
I love the bit where Paul Heyman took over from Michael Cole as well, because I'm not a really big fan of Michael myself, so I was more than happy with that,
Yeah, well, you're not alone in that. He is not. He's not well liked. We actually just reevaluated him recently, and he didn't get a very good mark.
See, Josh, this actually really annoys me as a wrestling fan, because I've been a wrestling fan since I was 9 years old, and I'm 35 now, so that's 25 plus years.
Yeah.
And the thing that annoys me is that I grew up. My favourite commentator of all time is Gorilla Monsoon, right? Mm. And I used to love him with Jesse the Body. That was my favourite combo right there. But correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole point of a wrestling commentator is to sell you the match and to basically tell you who to cheer for and who to care for, right?
Yep.
But do they not, am I wrong in thinking that Michael Cole and JBL don't do anything but talk about either themselves or Twitter or taking selfies, that kind of thing? And that really annoys me. What is your angle on that?
I mean, it's tough because that they have people in their ear constantly telling them, promote this, talk about this. If the match isn't really that important, we're going to talk about main events and other things, the one thing they only do is they'll call the pin. Like, that's the one thing they always do is they count the 1, 2, and then they'll go back to promoting, whatever. So, I mean, I feel bad for him. I think he does a good job at what he's told to do, I mean, but it's his job. What's he going to say? No, I don't want to do this. Okay, you're fired, So it's kind of it sucks, but yeah, I would love it to go back to more of a classic style of commentating.
It's just annoying because if you watch Michael Cole with Taz on SmackDown when he first started, that actually shows to me how good he is, as a commentator. Because he's completely different on that,
He's I mean, when he's calling a match and it's a big match and he actually calls it straight up, he is excellent at it. There's no doubt about it.
Who is your favorite commentator?
Oh God, right now, I'll be honest. I usually watch Raw on mute, and I've done it for months now, just because I can't handle them. I mean, right now, and even though he's just started up, I do like Corey Graves on NXT.
Yes.
He's very new, but it's actually amazing how good he is at it. For only have done it for a couple months.
I don't know if just being English, I'm saying it, but I really miss William Regal on the commentary as well.
Oh man, I love William Regal. Yeah, I'm glad that he's a general manager, so at least we can see him from time to time on TV.
I mean, let's talk NXT. How do you feel about NXT? It just seems to me like they can do no wrong,
They can't. I mean, that last show, their last 2 shows have just been, unbelievable.
What do you think of the overall, the pay-per-view itself?
The last one that we just saw?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it started a little slow, I mean, you have Bull Dempsey and Corbin out there, and they're kind of just stinking up the joint. You're wondering, why is this no DQ? And, it's a little slow at first, but once Finn Balor gets out there and then the Fatal 4-Way, the women put on an unbelievable job. It's amazing how big of a gap it is between NXT women's division and the women's division on the main roster. It's unbelievable. I mean,
I was talking to Derek Montier about this on my last podcast, and we were discussing about this and just the gulf between women's wrestling in WWE and NXT, and why haven't they brought more of the women from NXT into WWE? And do you think that's just because they wouldn't get used enough in WWE, or?
That's probably the case. I mean, it's funny. They just had there was just an article about Brie Bella. I don't know if you caught that, but she basically said that if I were a woman in NXT, I wouldn't want to be called up right now. Which is a pretty bold statement to say something like that. But they clearly wouldn't get the amount of time if they came up on TV. We already know that. You've already seen it with like Emma. She's just been decimated on the main roster.
That really annoyed me because she was great in NXT.
She was.
And then they brought her across, and they made her like a comedy figure with Santino,
That was just once they did that, it was over with. I mean, no offense to Santino, I mean he's a funny guy and he does what he does, but being put as Santino's girlfriend and doing an awkward dance and stuff, it's just, I mean that is just not what's going to get her over.
I don't have a problem with her being with someone, but they could have stuck her with like someone cool, like RVD or someone,
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad right from the get.
So, what is your take on the 4-Way, the women's match?
That match was unbelievable. Because 4-Way matches can be really sloppy sometimes.
Yes.
Just in general, there's a lot of people. You have to remember all the certain spots, and it can look really bad. And they just did a great job, the Bailey suplex that she did off the second rope or the top rope, just looked amazing. They got it right with the winner. Sasha definitely deserves to win. I'm glad they didn't do some weird swerve with Becky getting it. I mean, she's a really good wrestler, but I'm glad they didn't do anything weird like that.
What do you think to Kevin Owens? I mean, we have to talk about Kevin. I've been a massive fan of Kevin Steen since like in the Indies and Ring of Honor and that kind of stuff. How about you? How do you feel about Kevin?
I mean, he's, I don't know how long he needs to stay in NXT. He's kind of has it down already. He doesn't need a whole lot of training, just maybe a little adjusting into WWE style, of matches. But I mean, he's amazing. I think the NXT crowd needs to figure out if it's fight Owens fight or kill Owens kill. They need to make a decision because they tend to swing back and forth on that. But I mean, he's amazing. I like him because he is awesome at in-ring storytelling during the match. That was my favorite match, Owens and Zayn, just because I enjoy when guys can tell a story as well as put on a good, physical match.
It was mine too, man. I gotta agree, because not only that, the whole bully element of the character is just unbelievable to me,
Yeah, and it's funny because they make it so obvious, with the KO or the KO shirt, they got the KO banner above him, and then he KOs Sami Zayn, and you're like, oh my god, he KO'd him. Well, yeah, no crap, that's his thing. It's funny. Like, I actually was stunned by it, but then I was like, well, it should be just plainly obvious that that's what he does.
But also, like, there's this family man about him, man. When he comes out and talks about he wants to win to make more money for his family, I can't help but feel sorry for him too.
I know, and I it is funny because you see him sometime, and it's off. You see him on Twitter with his kids and stuff, so you kind of have this back and forth. But he's such a jerk in the ring, But he's one of those guys where I hope the crowds continuously boo him, really hard because he does things that are just sick. He's borderline psychotic in the ring, compared to most people in the ring right now, from what WWE is showing. So
if there's one thing you need to do, Josh, you need to go on YouTube and check out the 99 moves of Kevin Steen. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that. I have seen some of his, clips from his indies, but no, I've not. I'll have to check that.
You definitely need to check that out, man. It is awesome. But, I mean, what I like about Kevin also is that the believability factor, because I think now with wrestling, because of the PG era, I kind of get the vibe and feel that a lot of people are playing at being a wrestler. But with Kevin Steen, it's not since kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin that he kind of brings this believability because he believes everything that's coming out of his mouth,
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good thing, that those guys are usually the ones that do the best, or the ones that are most naturally themselves, When you play a character that you're not really into, it's going to come across the screen real obviously that you don't really want to be this person.
Definitely, the best characters are kind of just a slight extension from your own personality,
Yeah, and I'm hoping you mentioned the PG era. I'm hoping that we're slowly kind of eking away from that. I feel like there are times when they kind of start to move away a little bit from that.
How do you feel about the PG era as a whole, and what would you do to kind of tweak it even more?
I mean, the PG era is I understand it. They're trying to bring in younger fans, newer fans.
Yes.
There was political things where, Vince's, Linda was running, in politics, and so I think that they were trying to make the company a little more family friendly. It was a little bland. It's a little boring.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to go quite Attitude Era. I don't need to see bra and panty matches all the time. I don't need to see Mae Young get shucked off of anything, or anything like that. I don't need, but they can definitely move a little bit away from, the PG.
I think NXT, if anything, it just proves that people love wrestling. People love basic core wrestling, don't you think?
Yeah, they definitely have their fan base, and I think they're trying to increase it, which, is admirable, but it would be nice if there was, again, like a little bit of a balance, which I think that they're working towards.
Do you think that Triple H is basically trying to build NXT as a completely separate brand, and maybe kind of 4 or 5 years down the line, like a kind of another invasion angle between the two brands?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, it sure sounds like it. It sounds like that it's kind of his baby. I mean, I'm pretty sure Vince said on his interview with Stone Cold that he doesn't really watch it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I think he needs to.
Yeah, which is mind blowing that you wouldn't pay attention to something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. They could eventually do an invasion angle. Hopefully, they do a better invasion angle. But even if they don't, if they just keep it as it is, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to get people to buy the network. That's a really good exclusive to have. I mean, why any, fan doesn't have the network, I'm not really sure. Just because at that price, there's a lot of good, between the pay-per-view and NXT, that's worth $10 a month.
That's amazing. I mean, in the UK, we pay kind of $9.99 in pounds. So it's a bit more expensive than you guys, but It's definitely worth it. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by it. Just also some of the original content and stuff on there. Have you seen the 24 about the WrestleMania 30 and things?
I did. I caught a little bit of it. Yeah, those are cool. I mean, that's just more original content that they need to do. I mean, and like the countdowns, I tend to watch a lot of those. Those are very cool. It
was amazing to me to kind of see behind the scenes of when the Undertaker got injured and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, right, with Vince and all that. Yeah, I mean that's. It's a different look at things.
What did you feel about the Finn Balor Adrian Neville match?
That match was a good kind of an appetizer to what was coming.
Yes.
That kind of started to flip, because the first couple matches were just okay to not great, and then when that one hit, I mean, seeing Neville, jumping off the second, doing the Phoenix Splash off the second rope, and Balor, just everything, all the false counts and everything. It was just a fantastic match.
So, just coming away from wrestling, I want to ask you about kind of your favorite films and that kind of stuff. What are the movies that kind of float your boat?
I'm trying to think recently what I've seen. I mean, my favorite movie is Fight Club.
Nice.
So that would probably be, that's an easy pick for me.
Okay.
Lately I've been hooked on horror movies. I've been trying to catch up on all the, like Annabelle, Deliver Us from Evil.
Right.
That's kind of my, right now, just trying to catch up on those kind of movies.
How about band-wise? What kind of music?
Right now, oh gosh, probably Muse. I do enjoy Muse.
Nice.
Dave Matthews Band has always been a long-time favorite of mine. But yeah, I don't know. It's all over the place. I can, listen to MF Doom. I could listen to The Roots. So I'm kind of all over the place. Other than country, that's the only thing I can't get into.
So I know that you're kind of heavily into your music, and I also know that the WWE loves its kind of theme songs for the wrestlers. Do you have any favorites of those? I
mean, excuse me. Brock Lesnar's his intro is awesome.
Yes.
When that thing hits, something's going down. So I do enjoy it quite a bit.
I think for me, it's got to be Batista. I'm not gonna say that I like Batista. I absolutely hate him, but his Juicy Scott music, man, that's amazing.
Right now, too, in NXT, Finn Balor's, his is ready to go. Some people don't like it because it's really long, but, maybe he's just kind of taking the Undertaker route, where it's going to be a kind of a drawn-out dramatic.
Yeah, I was speaking about that to somebody else, and they basically said to me that he's kind of keeping the pageantry for the big events, the pay-per-views.
And I like that. I think some people were a little disappointed he didn't change up his face paint, and his costume for the most recent show, but, they got merchandise to sell, so, he can't come out looking like someone different every single show. Now,
one thing that I would like to see myself is that I'd love to see NXT represented at WrestleMania, maybe a singles match. What do you feel about that?
I'm for it. I don't know, why anyone wouldn't want to see one of those. Sure, bring it on, do a triple threat or anything, just to kind of showcase the future. It's the biggest show of the year, so you might as well show off some of your young guns.
I think maybe as a lead up to WrestleMania, they could do a tournament on NXT for like the number one contender, and then at WrestleMania you could have the title match.
Done. That sounds good. That sounds really good.
So who are your kind of favorite women in wrestling today?
Right now, I'd probably say, I have a soft spot for Naomi. She's probably my favorite. And it has nothing to do with her following me on Twitter. That's just a side.
As long as you don't say the Bella Twins, it's all good with me, man.
Yeah, no, and I do like Bayley as a wrestler in NXT.
Yes.
She's a lot of fun to watch. And then Sasha Banks as just an overall, her gimmick, her character, it works. She just, works it, and she's just, puts in 100% with that. So
I think the thing with Sasha Banks is I wasn't sold at all with her until that 4-way. She sold herself to me, man. I thought she was great.
Yeah, in what way? Do you mean like in the ring or just overall?
I think just her personality came through in that match, and the way that the outcome was so clear cut, and she definitely deserved the 3 count there.
Yeah.
NXT itself, are you looking forward to kind of future events with it?
Oh yeah, NXT is definitely just something I'm always keeping my eye on. It'll be interesting to see where Owens and Balor go. He's kind of next in line, so
yes.
We'll kind of see. How is he going to do better than Zayn? And what happens to Sami Zayn? Where do they go with him after he, recovers from his major league beatdown?
So I know I've been reading an article. I think it was on the blog, man, about about someone complaining about the size of Kevin Owens and stuff like that. And basically, his response to his size. I find that a bit bullying myself, man. What do you think about his size and his overall kind of performance?
I think that his size is fine. If they can go in the ring, what does it matter?
Yeah, exactly.
You got a guy like Bray Wyatt who's not exactly, in perfect condition either, and he can go just fine with, Daniel Bryan or whoever else. So, I don't think it really matters. I think it's good to have a little bit of diversity. Not everyone needs to look like a bodybuilder.
How would you like to do a WrestleMania 31 review show after WrestleMania. How did that sound to you?
Oh, it sounds great. I would love to do that. Absolutely.
Okay, man, it's been a great chat. But before I go, I need to ask you a couple of conspiracy theory questions. Are you ready for this?
I guess so. I'll give it a shot.
Okay, so being an American, I want to know your take on. Let's start with 9/11. Do you think that was an inside job?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think so. No.
What is your take on 9/11?
I mean, I've watched a good amount of documentaries about that, but I think that there's just some people in the world that just want to see destruction and mayhem.
Yes.
And I feel like that, we just eventually got hit, and that's just, hopefully that won't happen ever again.
I agree with you, man. How about Area 51? Alien base or just a government facility?
I think it's a government facility that is just turned into a bigger story that can sell merchandise. I don't think too much of that.
Did you hear my last show when I was talking about it as well?
I got into it. I got into the 9/11, but I didn't get any further than that. What did you say?
I basically said the same as you. I think that's just a testing facility is the bottom line on that one. So how about JFK and who shot JFK?
I would say that it seems like there might have been someone else there. From the angles and all the talks of a second, the way his head moves and all that, maybe there was someone else. I don't know.
Josh, it's been a fun time talking to you. You're a good man, so thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'll speak to you down the road, buddy.
All right.
You're tuned into Monday Night Carlo, the sports pop culture podcast, available on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher Radio. So why not hit that subscribe button now? Monday Night Carlo, where pop culture fun lives.
Hello everybody, welcome to Monday Night Carlo. It's going to be a fun episode tonight. It's going to be a good chat. This man I've known for a while. You can catch him at TheAudioSprite on Twitter. His name is Rich. Rich, welcome to Monday Night Carlo. How are you, man?
I'm good, thanks for having me on, dude.
No worries. So, I know that you're a man of many musical talents, but just as an introduction, just tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm Rich, also known as TheAudioSprite. I make retro gaming remixes, but also branch into movies and TV themes as well. Instruments that I play live include synthesizers, keyboards, and guitars. And that's pretty much it.
So just explain to me, what inspired you to start what you do, and how long ago now have you been doing this for?
I've been doing this just over 2 years now. It originally started as kind of a thing for my brothers,
right.
Because they loved retro gaming the same as me because they grew up with it. They love their music. I picked up a guitar and thought, let's put the two together. They enjoyed it. I thought maybe other people will, and there we go, man.
So do you remember kind of the first projects you did as a music bass?
As TheAudioSprite, as in kind of the first project, it was mainly old kind of Sonic the Hedgehog tracks, and looking back on them now, the production and the quality was so poor, but I was just so happy to record it,
So as for you say about the quality, what kind of things were you using to actually make the music?
Anything I can get my hands on. Like I said, I was completely new to it. If I could get a phone, if I could get an old tape recorder, just anything to kind of get it recorded and listen back to. Did
you kind of do all music kind of qualifications and stuff when you were at school, Rich?
Yeah, I actually done a year at Bournemouth and Paul College studying music.
Right.
That was it. That was just a personal thing for me, I didn't really want to go progress from there.
So I hear you got a charity album on the horizon. Tell us a little bit.
Indeed.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's going to be a series of remixes, probably 7 or 8, all towards an album. People can come by, purchase a track for download, and all the proceeds will go to a local charity fighting children's cancer.
What kind of tracks can we expect on there?
You have to wait and see, man, but there's a few on there that I really think are going to take people back to their own childhoods and just make them go, oh man, wow, yeah, I remember that, and hopefully that will inspire them to donate and help kids who are really suffering and not having the greatest childhood,
That's really cool. So talking about childhood, let's explore yours a little bit and have a little bit of fun with this.
Okay.
Let's take you back and what was it for you console-wise that got you into the whole kind of retro gaming feel, and what was your first console?
It's strange. My first console was the NES. Back in the day when that first came out, playing the original Super Mario Brothers. I mean, who doesn't know the opening theme for that, you know? But the thing that really kind of kicked it up a gear was I got a Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis for our people in the States, and I got a copy of Sonic 2. And that was it. I just fell in love from there. The speed, the gameplay, everything was just, yeah, I'm hooked. This is what I want to do.
This is really weird to me because I love retro gaming myself, and I wonder whether kids today would get really, really frustrated with Sonic and maybe, you know, not having the whole save element like they do today.
Oh yeah, man, we didn't have the beauty of autosave. No, you messed up, you go back to the start and you try again.
What would you think that they would think to that nowadays?
I guess they would find it frustrating. I think in modern games, you know, graphically and storytelling wise, they're incredible, but there's so much hand-holding. You know, some of the games, they just play themselves and you are literally pressing buttons and that's it.
Do you think today's games kind of fail in more ways than one? Like, do you think that, yes, we've got the graphical elements that are just amazing, but do you think they fall short in other areas, Rich?
Yeah, I do. There's just some kind of charm missing from it, you know? Like, back in the day, you could tell that these people, like programmers and software engineers, the lot, they really cared about the games they were making, and it shone through in just so many little elements.
I think also it's a really interesting point that I think there's so much money involved in gaming now that it's kind of spoiled gaming in a way, because I think they rely so heavily on you know, churning out the same games every year, whether it be FIFA, whether it be Call of Duty. They don't kind of dare to be bold to kind of, you know, spawn brand new games. They kind of rely on the same. What do you think about that, Rich?
I enjoy COD, I enjoy Battlefield and all the modern games that come out. You know, I enjoy them, but they're not something that I look back on and go, oh man, that was a great game, you know? It's just kind of, it's something to do on your downtime, put it that way.
I tell you what I really love, we're talking games now, but what I really love to do gaming-wise is I was brought up on the old school point-and-click LucasArts games.
Yeah, like Monkey Island and stuff like that.
Yes, I mean I've spoke to Ron Gilbert on the podcast before.
Nice.
And he is such a nice guy, but yeah, just talking about the LucasArts games, they're amazing games to play. I still play them to this very day. I don't know how many times I've played Monkey Island, but it's like you said, there's something, just a link there. I remember playing with my brother as well, like you said also. It's just that I think with the old school games, there's that whole family connection thing as well, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. I'm the eldest of my siblings, so I had to share consoles. You know, there was no way that my parents could afford one each, you know?
Do you remember what games you played with your brothers and stuff like that?
Oh man, like I said, I was heavily Sega when I was growing up, so Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, you know, the kind of beat 'em ups where you can get a second player in and just go for it.
What were the games that kind of you remember the best and you hold in like the highest regard for you personally, Rich?
Personally, on an emotional, it's Sonic 2. It's my favourite game, not just retro gamer, but ever, of all time. No matter what mood I'm in, it makes it all better, you know?
That's an amazing game. Even to play nowadays, I mean, I played it, it's available on so many kind of different, whether it be your iPhone or wherever, you know, it's still available now, and it's still on the small screen as well. It just looks amazing still, you know?
Exactly, and like I say, you still get a kick out of it today, so it must be doing something right.
How about arcade-wise? Can you remember many from the days of the arcade?
Growing up, I didn't have many arcades close to me, but I remember kind of the standout ones like Outrun, Street Fighter 2, you know, the big kind of cabinet games.
I remember just the amazing summers that I used to have as a kid playing 4-player Turtles. Do you remember the Turtles arcade?
Oh, yeah, man.
And the Simpsons arcade game as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So music-wise, let's just detour back to that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just tell us what your favourite bands are and what kind of inspired you music-wise to get into what you do.
I will listen to everything and anything, but...
Really?
Yeah, honestly, man. I mean, I can happily sit down and listen to a Metallica track and then go put Vivaldi on afterwards. You know, I don't care. If it grabs my attention and I like it, I play it.
So how long have you had the AudioSprite Twitter, and have you got a Facebook in that? You know, the Facebook pages, or maybe a website that you want to plug?
I do have Facebook pages, but they never really seem to do well, and you can't see half the posts. So.
That's really weird that you say that, Rich, because I've got a Facebook page, and I've just reached kind of just over 1,500 followers on Twitter, but when it comes to Facebook, nobody seems to like the Facebook page. Exactly.
I think Twitter's a lot more interactive. There's a lot more people out there who are willing to jump on board, whereas Facebook just seems to be, oh, here's some drama. Goodbye. You know?
What was did you see the Brit Awards? Just randomly, but did you see the Brit Awards with
No,
Madonna?
I didn't see it, but I've seen so many of the Madonna cape videos, and, you know, yeah, it makes me laugh.
What was your thoughts on that?
I felt bad for her. You know, to trip up on stage, it's awful, but yeah, if you're going to wear costumes that are that ridiculous, you got to expect things to go wrong.
I couldn't help but feel bad for her. She is an icon, whatever way you look at it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, retro gaming is something that I held in the highest regard. At the minute, I'm doing some Xbox. I love the original Xbox, man.
Yeah, man.
Do you kind of have any favourite games from that platform as well?
The original Xbox, to me, it's just nicknamed the Star Wars console. It's simple, because there was just so many great Star Wars titles on it, and that's mainly my collection for the original Xbox.
I've been collecting so many recently, whether it be the Blinks or Jade Empire, or I love playing Project Gotham Racing on it as well. I mean, I know that's probably nothing compared to today's racing games and stuff like that, but yeah, it just takes me back. As for kind of today's music, are you kind of a live event guy as well? Do you kind of, you know, take your music around?
It is something I'm going to consider in the future. If the AudioSprite project really takes off, it'd be great to kind of get the money up, to get some gear, to just turn up to conventions and places, and yeah, do these tracks live and just bring a smile to people's faces. That would be awesome.
That would be great. So just tell us one more time about your album and where people can catch that and what the release date for that is.
Okay, it'll be released on Sunday, which is the 1st of March.
Okay.
The charity album will be on my SoundCloud page, which is SoundCloud AudioSprite 87. Okay. So you can find the links to go buy the tracks there. And like I say, it all goes towards a local charity called Teddy Rocks, and they do fantastic work.
You're a good man, Rich. It's great to speak to you on the podcast.
Oh, thanks, man.
I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight, so thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
Why not come and like the official Monday Night Carlo Facebook page, facebook.com/EggettCarl-MNC. That's facebook.com/EGGETTCARL-MNC.
You've been listening to Monday Night Carlo. All views and opinions expressed by the Carlo are all his own and do not represent any other entity.